Hello, and it's round 23's edition of the National League Rugby Preview Show, powered by Talking Rugby Union. And just like that, the penultimate month of this season is nearly at a close, but round 23 has all the ingredients to spice up what is already a tasty end to another superb campaign in National 1 and National 2. So why not take the time out to visit your local National League Rugby club this weekend to see what all the fuss is about. But in the meantime, make sure you do give this video a like, subscribe to our YouTube channel, which is absolutely free to do, and make sure you engage with and share all of our content on YouTube as well as across our social media channels. That might just be a repost, it might just be a comment, but it all helps to boost the profile of National League Rugby. A big thanks to both Isha and Old Albanian for taking the time out to appear on round 22's edition of the National League Rugby Preview Show. We really appreciated it, and also included in the OA's feature was part of our recent interview that we did with England captain Maro Itoje. Now, we've had a few bits of really nice feedback on the interview itself, as well as the clips that we've pushed out across our social media channels. So if you did want to check that out, the interview itself is included in National 2 East section of last week's show, and that video is available to watch on the homepage of our YouTube channel. And over the next few weeks, we should be putting the interview with Maro up online as a standalone video as well. But a big thanks to everybody who's watched the interview so far and has also interacted with the interview, whether that's been on YouTube or across social media. So on to round 24 then, where this week we have not one, not two, but three feature clubs, all coming from National 2. So in National 2 West, we are with Exeter University as they edge closer to safety in that division. Plus, we find out a bit more about their unique and thriving rugby programme. We are also in National 2 East with Guernsey Raiders as they target a top 6 finish after what has been a bit of a roller coaster season for the club. So we'll be sitting down with Director Rugby Jordan Reynolds a little bit later on. And we are also in National 2 North with Hull, who are building up to what is a critical end to the season for the Yorkshire outfit as they look to avoid relegation, starting with a big game this weekend at home against Sheffield Tigers. But all of those interviews, all of those features are to come a little bit later on. And if you're a regular viewer of the show, you'll know the drill by now. So let's kick off this week's show in National 1. And we'll kick off with the ever-developing title race in National 1, where leaders Richmond delivered a huge statement of intent in round 22. Now, a lot of focus was on their clash with fourth place Plymouth Albion, given Richmond, of course, atop of the table, but also because Albion had won 10 straight games leading into this one. But Rob Powell's side blew Plymouth away with a 54-0 victory. Richmond led 14-0 at the break, but what a second half display from the table toppers, with Sam Pym, Greg Kitson and Josh Adams all helping themselves to 2 tries apiece. So some message from Richmond to send out to their promotion rivals. But second place Rotherham are sticking to their task as a first home bonus point win since Christmas kept the Titans 5 points behind Richmond. Harvey Billion side beat 10th place Sedgley Park 39-28 at Clifton Lane as they fended off a spirited second half bite back from the Tigers. But as we said, the result does keep Rotherham right behind Richmond, and a reminder that the top 2 meet at Rotherham in round 25. So how big could that fixture be on April 12th? But of course, there are still twists and turns that could occur between now and then. And let's not rule out third place Roslyn Park, who have to be mentioned in the title conversation. It's now 9 wins from their last 10 games for Rosslyn Park after they came from behind to defeat 8th place Birmingham Moseley 29-22 last time out. And it leaves Kieran Power's side 10 points off the top, and they do play 3 of the top 5 sides between now and the end of the season, including Rotherham, on the final day. So who knows where we might stand come the end of April. And Leicester Lions will be hoping to still be a National 1 side by the end of next month after they gave their survival chances a major shot in the arm in round 22. They beat 12th placed Esher 26-15 away from home to move to within 4 points of their table rivals, whilst also denying the E's any points at all. So it was a pretty much a perfect afternoon for the Lions last weekend as their battle to survive the drop continues. But we did see our first relegation of the season confirmed last Saturday as Darlington Moden Park's 41-12 home loss to Bishop Stortford sealed their fate, meaning DMP will drop out of the 3rd tier for the first time in 11 years. A difficult season for the North East club, so they will want to try and sign off in a positive manner across the course of their final 4 games. So let's have a look then at round 23, and we'll start with the title race and the second fixture along, where leaders Richmond head up to the northwest to take on Sedgley Park. Richmond are on a 6-match unbeaten run, but they will know visiting Park Lane won't be straightforward at all. Sedge have shown up very well over the last month or so against 4 of the current top 6 sides, including an away win at Blackheath and victory against Rams in their last home outing, so they can upset the apple cart against Richmond. But the away side, of course, will be focused on remaining on top of the pile heading into April. As for second place Rotherham, boss Harvey Billion actually told Sedgley Park's media man Vinnie Morley after last week's win that it would be nice for Sedge to do his side a favour against Richmond this weekend. But of course, Billion will have his troops geared up for a huge test away at 5th placed Rams. Now, whilst Rams did slip to their 6th straight loss in round 22 following a 39-33 defeat at Blackheath, boss Seb Reynolds certainly saw positive signs from his side, and we know this Rams team are more than capable of putting in a performance to disrupt Rotherham's season. But do remember, the Titans did beat Rams back in November, so there are so many different ways in which you can look at this game, but it does feel like a big one at Old Bath Road on Saturday. As for Rosslyn Park, is 3rd, travelling to 4th, with hosts Plymouth Albion looking to bounce back after a disappointing afternoon at Richmond in round 22. This Albion side might be out of the title running this season, but expect them to be right up there again next term. But again, this should be a really good fixture at Brickfields in round 23. In terms of the relegation situation then, Leicester Lions, as you can see, they are back at Wesley Park to face 7th place Sale FC, where they will target a 3rd successive win. The Lions did beat Sale away from home back in round 11, so that could be a source of inspiration for Gareth Collins' side. But Sale have been very, very good in 2025 and will want to nail down their top half finish in their remaining 4 matches. As for Esher, their trip to 9th place Bishop Stortford feels very big indeed. 5 straight defeats now for Esher, combined with Leicester Lions' resurgence, means they have been sucked in to this battle to avoid the drop. So a positive outcome in Hertfordshire would do the E's wonders. And elsewhere in National 1 this weekend, 6th place Blackheath, who were targeting 3 straight wins for the first time since November, they go to Dean's Crusaders, while Birmingham Moseley are back at Billesley Common to face Darlington Moden Park. Let's talk through National 2, and we begin in National 2 North, where the title race continues to rumble along with Leeds Tykes still in pole position. Pete Seaborn and Pete Lucock's side made it 13 wins in a row as they defeated Chester 41-26 in round 22. They showed their no-nonsense grit and efficiency, which we've seen on multiple occasions this term, to get over the line in this one, because they actually trailed 23-19 at half-time. But Adam Brown and Edward Brown both scored hat-tricks as the superb Leeds side marched on again, and they remain 9 points clear of the top with 4 games to go in the season after second place Sheffield returned to winning ways in some style. They scored 3 tries in quick fashion at the start of the second half to pull away from Hull Ionians in round 22 and earn a 45-6 victory at Brantington Park. So as you can see, Leeds still in control of the title race ahead of round 23, whilst there were also wins in the top half of Fylde, Wharfdale and Tynedale. And Tynedale's 33-31 win away at Harrogate had a bearing on what is becoming a very tense relegation fight in National 2 North. Harrogate led for a fair chunk of this contest, but fell 33-31 behind with 7 minutes remaining after Chris Wearmouth had dotted down for Tynedale. But like in the reverse clash back in November, Harrogate had the chance to win it with a late penalty, but Rory McNabe's attempt was agonisingly off target, and it means Harrogate had to settle for 2 points rather than 5, and it keeps them in the bottom 2. But for Billingham, they are now out of the danger zone as an 18-month wait for an away win came to an end in round 22 with a 35-22 success over Lymm in the northwest. Back-to-back victories for Billingham now, which means they are now 1 point clear of the bottom 2, and one of those unwanted positions in the bottom 2 is now being occupied by Hull after they slipped to a 5th defeat from their last 6 games after losing 35-13 at 4th placed Fylde. And it means the next few weeks will be crucial for Hull, and they are our first featured club of the week on this week's edition of the National League Rugby Preview Show. And the Yorkshire outfit actually face Harrogate at the start of April, but in what will be or could be an absolutely massive game in the context of the season. But before that, they welcome Sheffield Tigers to the Ferrens ground in round 23. And Hull finished 8th last year in National 2 North, but they've been unable to build on that this term due to some frustrating away form, as well as their inability to pick up bonus points. But it is at home, it is at the Ferrens ground, where Hull have had the most joy this season. 5 of the 7 wins they've collected this term have come on their own patch. And speaking to Hull boss Mike Umaga before this game, he's hoping for more of the same against Sheffield Tigers. Great to see you again, Mike. And obviously, we're looking ahead to a big weekend for Hull this Saturday, taking on Sheffield Tigers. And to start with, Mike, from the outside looking in, it feels like a really big couple of weeks, a final block of 4 games for you guys. Do you feel that internally as well, going into Tuesday and Thursday this week?
Yeah, no, definitely. We have to, be honest and realistic with ourselves, and we find ourselves in this situation. So every game's big. These kind of seasons, or every season, you have to have a form of consistency. And we haven't been able to show the form that we show at home on the road, and that kills us. So. But also, not being able to pick up bonus points has been really a bit of a stickler for us. But it really has been talking about highs and lows. We play at home and we play some unbelievable rugby. We go away and it's just like watching 2 different teams.
Right.
And that's just the reality of the situation. But the boys turn up every week, so to speak, Tuesday, Thursday, and just these next 4 weeks are crucial for us.
And how important is it, Mike? You mentioned there that the boys are turning up on Tuesday, Thursday. How important is it that their attitude remains as right as it sounds like you're saying? Really, I mean, you've got some fantastic leaders in that squad. I know Mike passed a good record at the weekend. You could captain Mike Joblin and Ali Hurd's not too
Yeah.
very close behind that as well, isn't he? So, how important is it that those kind of attitudes remain the same during this kind of 4 games of the season, if you like?
Yeah, it's those are the tricky ones when you have the highs that are really good, and then the lows where sometimes you come off the park. Some instances with a bit of disbelief. Then it's our job and the leader's job to get the heads up, and the minds right again, so we can go again. Otherwise, you find yourself falling into a deep dark hole. But the leaders have been very good. Yeah, it's been tough, but that's the game of rugby.
Because that's going to kind of come on to you as well, Mike, really, because I know this season you passed kind of 50 games in charge of the club. I remember you kind of taking on the role during when the side were in National One. So how have you kind of found the last couple of years, Mike, from that kind of point of view?
Yeah, it was tricky, and when myself and Tony Penn took over, there was it was I won't candy coat it. It was tough. It was tough work coming into an environment such as it was, and then trying to put your own stamp on things, keep people together. And this year we've also lost some other stalwarts of the club as well for differing reasons. So it's it's a challenge every week, but one that we're well up for. Otherwise we wouldn't be here. So we have our own competitions, externally in terms of keeping rugby alive and a very rugby league prominent town. So you have to compete with that as well. But this league this year has been even crazier than last year. Last year there was only 2 or 3 teams up the top, and everyone else was fighting it out. This year, even Leeds Tigers, although they're up there, have had some tough games, but every other game, anyone can beat anyone. So, like I said, it's what you turn up on a Saturday for. Our hope is that we work on, we bring everything we work on during the week and get the result we're looking for.
Just in terms of these final 4 games, I know kind of any coach doesn't want to completely disregard a defeat or anything like that, but how much do you kind of have to kind of reset and purely focus on what is to come rather than dwelling too much of what's gone on in the past this season? Because obviously you've had those really good home wins against your Fields and your Wharfdale, so you can't completely park what's gone on, but I guess you want to try and just switch off completely and fully focus on the next four games.
Yeah, we've highlighted it as a series. So
okay.
So this week's game is the next one up. It brings its different challenges. We have to adjust some of the stuff we have done previously, but for us, it's just making sure our focus is right on the process. It's really simple. Making sure everyone's on the same hymn sheet for this week, and focusing solely on this week's game, and then once it's done, then we focus on the next one.
And just finally, Mike, just quickly, you mentioned kind of only focusing on one game at a time, and you've kind of taken my next question away from me there, Mike, because I know other people looking at the
sorry.
List. No, other people at the fixture list will go, do you know what, that game against Harrogate on April 5th seems like the big one, but is it important for you to kind of just focus on this Sheffield Tigers game for 2 reasons, really? One, You mentioned your home form before. I think 5 of the 7 wins you've got
Yeah.
this year have come at the Ferrens ground. But also, too, you mentioned it in
Mm.
your last answer. National 2 North is a crazy league and anyone can beat anyone. So you can't start thinking
Yeah.
about, oh, that Harrogate game means more to us than this one. You've got to focus on your job, get back in the clubhouse afterwards, and then you can maybe see where it all lies.
Yeah. We have to, because it's, points are paramount. So, we can't take focus away from the group for the following week because, the job this week hasn't been done. And it is, a really, really simple focus for us. So we've done already. Last night was a really good session with boys, focusing on, you know, parking what happened in game one, but taking out the good things, and there were a lot of good things. Just making sure we take those into the following week with some add-ons. So that's been our focus already, and the first training night, tomorrow night, again we'll be just sharpening the tools and getting ready for Saturday.
So thanks to Mike for joining us earlier in the week. As he said, Hull are treating these final 4 games as their own mini-series, and they will want to begin their series with victory over a Sheffield Tigers side who eased their own relegation fears last time out with a 38-23 win over Otley. And in fact, a bonus point victory for the Tigers this weekend could make them safe depending on results. So a big contest awaits at the Ferrens ground on Saturday. So if you are in the area, why not pay Hull Rugby Club a visit? It has all the ingredients to be a big, big day on Humberside. But of course, Hull versus Sheffield Tigers is just one of 7 offerings we have for you in National 2 North this weekend. And we'll start at the top of our list because, as you can see, Billingham are the first team to appear, and they are back at home against 7th placed Chester. Chester have won their last 2 on the road, but after the last couple of weeks, Greenwood Road will be bouncing on Saturday as Billingham look to continue their survival push. In terms of table rivals, Harrogate in the middle of the list there. It is a local derby for them as they face Otley at Cross Green. The visitors did beat Otley 39-7 at the end of November, so could they do something similar this weekend? 11th place Preston Grasshoppers might be looking over their shoulder slightly after 4 straight defeats. Hoppers are now 6 points clear of the danger zone, and it doesn't get any easier for them when they visit title chasing Sheffield in round 23. Sheffield are back at home. I'm hoping to keep Leeds Tykes in their vision, with the table toppers also at home this weekend when they welcome Fylde to Yorkshire. Now, the Lancashire visitors have made life difficult for Leeds in their last 2 meetings, but this Tyke side continue to be in business, so whether Fylde can ruffle their feathers again remains to be seen. So that is the title race in National 2 North this week, whilst elsewhere, 5th place Wharfdale, who have won 3 of their last 4 games, host 3rd place Lymm, while Tynedale, who sits 6th, they take on Hull Ionians in the North East. From National 2 North to National 2 East we go, where there was another twist at the top in round 22. Now, leaders Tunbridge Judians were left crestfallen as they saw a 28-12 lead dissolve in front of their eyes as 5th placed Old Albanian produced a remarkable fight back in the final 13 minutes to snatch a 29-28 win. A try from Bailey Thomas and this astonishing score from Ben Alexander turned the game on its head, while Sam Jones kicked 7 points as OAs clinched their 6th win in a row, whilst also inflicting back-to-back defeats on Tunbridge Judian. So another tough one to take for TJs, but they are now 2 points clear at the top with a game in hand after nearest challengers Barnes were beaten 24-19 at 6th placed Westcombe Park. After beating Tunbridge Judians in round 21, Jack Heald's side couldn't back that up as their 7-match winning run came to a halt. They did, however, collect a losing bonus point. So the gap to TJ's, as we said, is 2 points as things stand. But TJ's are still in control of their own fate. And they also have their game in hand away at 8th place Guernsey to come next Saturday. But the blips for the leading pair have allowed Dorking to potentially ease their way back into the promotion conversation after such a mixed start to 2025. 3 straight wins, including last week's thumping 65-12 victory over Worthing, leaves Dorking 3 points off the top. So the pressure has been cranked up again towards the summit, whilst down at the other end, the pressure cooker of a relegation fight has been turned up for the aforementioned Worthing, whose survival hopes are now hanging by a thread after that 11-try defeat at Dorking. The Raiders are entering must-win territory now, while fellow bottom 2 side Colchester also lost in round 22 as they saw a 23 lead slip away from them as 11th place Sevenoaks stormed back to record a key 27-23 win at Raven Park. So Oaks edging closer to safety after this victory, but the game was slightly overshadowed by a really nasty head injury to Colchester fly half Finn Crichton towards the end of the game, and we wish Finn a very speedy recovery indeed. But bringing it back to the rugby itself and back towards the promotion battle, and as we said, Dorking may feel like it could be a 3-horse race again after the last few weeks. But for that notion to grow, they must continue their recent good form when they travel to Guernsey Raiders in round 23. And Guernsey are in fact the second of our 3 featured clubs on this week's National League Rugby preview show. Now, Guernsey, while sitting 8th in the league standings, could have a say in the direction of this title race, with Dorking and then table toppers Tunbridge Juddians visiting Foots Lane over the next 2 weekends. But the Raiders themselves, they have their own ambitions between now and the end of April, with Jordan Reynolds' side potentially targeting a top 6 finish. Now, for those with good memories, you'll remember Guernsey won 8 of their first 10 games this season, but fixture disruption and the build-up of injuries really hampered their progress. But they have clicked into gear, back into gear over the last couple of weeks with back-to-back wins for the first time since October against Henley and Oxford Harlequins, respectively. So ahead of another couple of big fixtures for the Raiders, we caught up with Guernsey boss Jordan Reynolds. Let's just go back to the last couple of weeks, Jordan, if you don't mind, to start with, where kind of I know after the Bury St Edmunds game, you said that might have been a bit of a turning point for your side, and that's proven to be the case with back-to-back victories going into round 23. So you must be really pleased that the team are back on track after what was quite a frustrating period in the season for you guys.
Yeah, I mean, to get a couple of wins after so many losses, everyone's going to be pleased by that if they're supporting the Guernsey team. But look, it's been a bit of a tough run for us. There's little signs there that we're starting to turn that corner, but really pleasing to get those 2 wins. I think we had 7 losses on the bounce from that stage. And there were only small margins as well. There was a lot of games in there where we'd only lose by a score, but that's how tough this league is at the moment, isn't it? By the time we hit around October time, well, end of October, we were playing extremely well. I think we were sitting second in the league at that stage, and we had maybe the 3 or 4 injuries that every team would sustain. But from that period, from end of October right through to still now, we've had anywhere between 40 to 45% of our squad out injured. I've got 12 guys sidelined at the moment. 6 of those have been sidelined since October, and it makes it tough. You know what I mean? Like it's hard, but this is the every team goes through this, at one stage in probably 5 or 6 years, and we just happened to have one of those seasons this year. I mean, on the other side of it, I'm sure our board are pretty happy because they were getting a little bit nervous when we were sitting second. So, but it's just the way it is. And this is a really great league. If you look at a lot of the teams, except for maybe the top two, have been pretty consistent. A lot of these teams, like we had our good run of around 8 or 9 games. We've seen Western Park do the same. I mean, you've seen Canterbury go on a winning streak as well. So everyone's found a little bit of form at some stage of the season, and we're hoping that we're about to do the same thing again.
Well, let's talk on that kind of the strong start to the season you had, Jordan, because we can talk about the injuries and the fixtures disruption you had in November at the start of January, which did kind of seem to take the wind out of your sails. But as you said there, you had 8 wins in the opening 10 rounds of the season, I think it was. And even now with 5 games to go, despite the run you've had in terms of the defeats, it feels like, a top 6 finish is still very much achievable for you guys. And I know when we spoke last year, you're an ambitious coach, Jordan. The club are aspirational and you want to be a top 6 side in this league. So despite kind of maybe the negative run you had been on, this can still be a positive season for Guernsey Raiders, can't it?
Yeah, which would amaze you, right? Like, I mean, losing this amount of games, but I think the different side of that is because the league is so competitive, everyone's beating everyone, and that kind of marginalizes what the table looks like by the end of it. But if to be top 6 would be amazing for our club. Like people kind of look at Guernsey and they suddenly think Jersey, and we're not the same. We are who we are. Like we carry a squad of about 26 players, 27 players. We don't have big squads. We don't have a lot of money. So to achieve a status of even playing in National 2 has been a dream come true for us, let alone now trying to find a spot into that top 6. So for us it's always about overachieving for us, which is amazing. And if we could creep into that top 6, although a lot of rugby has to go our way over these next 5 games, it'd be some achievement for us, which would be fantastic and well deserved for our players as well. Like a lot of the young guys that have had to step up, and they're playing some of their first national rugby against sides like Canterbury, Barnes, TJ soon to be in a week's time, and Dorking this weekend. That would normally become pretty daunting, but these guys are really sticking to the challenge, which is so pleasing to see. And, like I said, if we could get into that top 6, then, I'm sure we'll be having a beer of celebration after.
Absolutely, Jordan. And you mentioned kind of there, Guernsey is kind of such a unique club in the National League rugby bubble. But when obviously I was over there last year, you get the sense that everyone is buying into the whole club ethos. I know you've got thriving senior sides, a great women's section and an academy as well. So in terms of the first 15, Jordan, if you were able to get that sort of top 6 finish, any progression for the first 15, I guess makes Guernsey Raiders even more of an attractive proposition for players to maybe play the rugby at your club, or even visiting supporters to go, I want to check out what's going on at Guernsey Raiders, because they seem to be taking steps in the right direction.
And that's really the crust of, I think, all clubs. Everyone understands that all rugby within the club is so important. Like we couldn't survive without an academy. We couldn't survive without our second team. We can't prosper without a ladies team. And we can't work as well as we do without a good solid board that's around it. But it is true, we had a factor of like a lot of players were leaving Guernsey to go play at National 1 or National 2 over the years. So if we could be in National 2, maybe that would allow players to stay and play for us. But I think the thing is too for us, the wins and losses that are found at the first team levels in all clubs, I think are heavily burdened, because we have factors of like, are people going to continue to turn up and spend money at the bar, and so the wins and losses are important to us. There's stress that comes with it, and I'm sure every coach would tell you the same. So there is that factor that comes with it, but it's also what drives us. I mean, I've always said, who the hell would want to be a coach? But we tend to find weird ones want to do it, like myself. So we jump on it and we enjoy those little moments, and you enjoy those moments when you're getting your team out of ruts like we are at the moment.
Yeah. And you mentioned kind of winning and losing, Jordan, but you have won more than you've lost at home this season. And I know you're probably really pleased about that. It seems to have been a bit more of a fortress this year, Footslade. I know you kind of had those couple of defeats at the end of February, but you were able to bounce back against Henley, as you said before. But I think you've kind of beaten 4 of the top 7 sides at home, with Dorking and TJ's to come over the next couple of weeks. So I guess you're really keen to keep that feel-good vibe around Footslade continuing between now and the end of the season.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you ever had a look at the footage where we played against Barnes, we're renowned for always just beating Barnes and at the death, and we did it again. And I think for people that come down, buy a ticket membership, and they come down and watch a game like that, you don't get that kind of theatre anywhere else. Like, it's an amazing atmosphere, and I'm sure Barnes would probably think the opposite of that. But for our crew over here in Guernsey, they love it, and they're already looking at this Dorking game in TJs because they're the bigger sides that you play in the league, and it's another fantastic opportunity to play some rugby and watch some of our young guys battle against these big sides. And like I said, we always back ourselves at home. It's great facilities to play in. We have, we're averaging anywhere between 800 to 1100 in the crowd at each game this time, this season, I should say. So it's always exciting to play at Foots Lane.
Absolutely. And as we just touched on there, two of the top three sides visiting Guernsey Raiders over the next 2 weeks. So it definitely is one of the hottest tickets in National 2 East to get down to Foots Lane and show your support, because it is a really exciting time in the season, and Guernsey Raiders very much part of that between now and the end of April. And I know we're talking about National 2 East, Jordan, and the running for you guys as you look to try break into that top half and the top six. But after the season's concluded, it doesn't for Guernsey Raiders, does it? Because I believe the Channel Islands will be, Guernsey Raiders will be hosting a game between the Channel Islands and international side Sweden. So that seems like a really good occasion to look forward to. Just tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so we have the Siam Cup that is played every year, and it's over in Jersey this season. And what we look to establish is a select side based out of those two teams that will take on an international side. So this year it's going to be Sweden. We didn't really know what the extent of, like, the size of this event would be. We decided to put it out to our stakeholders and see if they'd be interested. We immediately got some great responses. So to give you an idea, the Siam Cup's a massive event for us. It can hold anything between maybe 3,000 to 5,000 people coming to it. So this event at the moment has hit the same heights as what the Siam Cup's done. So it should be another great boost for both islands, which is fantastic. And it means we get to play some rugby with they're our enemy the week before that, I guess, or 2 weeks before that. But then making a select side out of that, we get to play with our Jersey counterparts, which will be an interesting concept. But I think we can form a really strong squad out of both sides to take on Sweden on the 17th of May.
So a big thanks to Jordan for his time this week. Guernsey clearly determined not to let their season fizzle out, with a top six finish well within their reach between now and the end of the season. And on the whole, they've been very strong at home this term. So we'd advise anyone watching the show this week who is from Guernsey to head down to Foots Lane on Saturday, or certainly over the next 2 weeks. Or if you are a Dorking or Tunbridge Julians fan, why not take an early spring break to the Channel Islands to watch your team in action against Guernsey Raiders? I was there over at Guernsey last season, and it is certainly a fantastic venue and a fantastic place to watch rugby. So it should be a big couple of weeks for Guernsey Raiders themselves, and we hope that followers of National 2 East will also be heading out in force across round 23 to sample the 6 other fixtures that we have for you this weekend. And with Dorking at Guernsey, we'll stay with the top 3 as leaders Tunbridge Julians welcome 9th place Bury St Edmunds to the Slade. Bury were the first side to defeat TJs this season back in November. So could they do the double, or will the tabletoppers hit back and deliver a statement of intent? As for second place Barnes, they take on the form side in National 2 East, Old Albanian. We saw Oa's dent TJ's aspirations last time out, and after beating 3 of the top 4 sides during their current run of 6 straight wins, Oa's may fancy their chances of adding to that list this weekend. In terms of the relegation fight, what a huge game right at the bottom of our list, with Worthing Raiders hosting fellow bottom two side Colchester. If they have any hopes of pulling off a great escape, you feel that Worthing must win at Roundston Lane on Saturday. And one of Worthing's 2 victories this season did come against Colchester back in November. So from a Colchester point of view, they'll be looking to avenge that defeat, whilst also looking to respond after last week's loss to Sevenoaks, if they are to reignite their own survival hopes this weekend. So much on the line in West Sussex on Saturday, and 12th placed Havant, who sit 9 points above the danger zone, will have a keen interest in what goes on between Worthing and Colchester, but they also have a major opportunity to ease their own relegation fears when they host 10th placed Oxford Harlequins this weekend. There is bound to be a big and passionate crowd at Hawks Lane for this one, as Havant aim for their first win in 2025, while Oxford Quins, who were promoted alongside Havant for this season, will confirm their safety if they match Colchester's results this weekend. So again, plenty at stake in this one. Elsewhere, shooting back to the top of the list, 4th place Canterbury, who held off a Bury St Edmunds fight back in round 22 to claim a welcome 40-38 victory last time out. They faced 7th placed Henley, while Sevenoaks, who got that important win at Colchester in round 22, they entertained Westcombe Park in the latest Kent derby. Finally, let's work our way through National 2 West, where for the first time since the start of February, one of the 2 title candidates hit a bump in the road. And in round 22, it was leaders Camborne who lost 25-17 away at 8th placed Luctonians. So Camborne's 10-match unbeaten run coming to an end at Mortimer Park, as they were halted by an excellent Luctonians defence. And I saw some Luctonians fans on social media on Saturday night describing the performance as their best display of the season. So a brilliant way for Ryan Watkins' side to end their 5-match winless run. But in terms of the bigger picture, in terms of the National 2 West title race, Luctonians denied Camborne any points at all from their visit to Herefordshire, meaning 2nd place Clifton took full advantage as they came out on top in a 16-try bonanza with Loughborough students. Matt Salter and Luke Cousins' side eventually running out 60-36 winners at Station Road, and a 9th successive home win for Clifton now leaves them 1 point behind Camborne, with the top 2 set to meet on April 5th. So that is in 2 weeks' time, and that game will take place at Clifton for what could be a title decider. Now, both of the leading pair, of course, will have to negotiate round 23 first, but we could be set for a phenomenal conclusion to this title race in National 2 West. Down at the other end of the table, for bottom 2 sides, Devonport Services and Bourneville, things are beginning to look bleak as both failed to win in round 22. Devonport, who you tend to forget, are still a fully amateur side. They did bank a try bonus point in their 43-24 loss at home to 3rd place Taunton, while Bourneville faded away at 10th placed Old Redcliffians as they fell to a 45-20 defeat. And perhaps their setbacks were compounded by Macclesfield, who took a major step towards safety last time out, with maybe their result of the season after beating 6th place Redruth 31-14 at Priory Park. It is a result which leaves Macclesfield 9 points clear of the bottom 2 with 4 games left to play. And 11th placed Exeter University, while beaten 48-38 by Hinckley in round 22, also have safety in their sights. And Exeter University are our final feature club of the week on the National League Rugby preview show. Now, they take on Old Redcliffians at home this weekend, and this is Exeter's 3rd successive season at this level. And like Loughborough students, they too are balancing their National 2 West commitments with their Bucks Super Rugby duties. And over the last few years, Exeter University have been one of the top teams in Bucks Super Rugby. They've reached the Bucks Super Rugby final, which is a showpiece event in the student game on 3 occasions. They've lifted the title twice, and that is all alongside developing and growing in National League Rugby. They have a thriving rugby programme down at Exeter, which is only enhanced by the relationship they have with Exeter Chiefs and England under-20 internationals, your likes of Kane James and Ben Cohen, who you may have seen playing in the recent Six Nations for England. They are examples of players who have dipped their toes into National League Rugby, played Bucks Super Rugby, and are now performing at a really high level. But it's not just those talented individuals that are benefiting from the programme at Exeter University. Second-year player James Boylan, who won National 2 West Player of the Week back in round 18. He's experiencing the best of National League Rugby as well as Bucks Super Rugby. So it's all part and parcel of his rugby education. So ahead of Exeter's clash with Old Redcliffians in a game which could help the university edge closer to safety in National 2 West, we caught up with James as well as Exeter's head of rugby, Gareth Elliott. Gareth, obviously, we'll focus on National 2 West to begin with, and 4 games left in your campaign to go. So how do you kind of compare potentially this season to the last couple of years that Exeter University have been competing at this level?
I think speaking to a few coaches in the league, I think this season's been a really tough season, like for the standard. So it shows the quality in the league. There's no freebies in this league. So we've obviously had a patch in the middle of the season where we weren't picking up as many results as we wanted to. But more recently, we've had a couple of important games against sides that are closer to us in the league, and we've had a really important away win against Bourneville, which pushed us a little bit higher up the league. And obviously in the run-in now, we've got a chance to kind of solidify our position in the league. And I think we're showing some really good signs, especially with our attack in rugby, where we're picking up 4 tries quite regularly now. So it's just about making sure that we're defensively sound, and yeah, I'm really confident heading into the end of the season.
Yeah, and obviously, James, this is Exeter University's 3rd season in National 2 West, but for yourself, this is your 2nd year with the club. You mentioned just before we hit record that you kind of started in sort of the fresher side, but have now been kind of a regular feature, if you like, in the Saturday side in National 2 West. So how have you kind of found that transition really from coming to university and playing it in National 2 West? Because we talk about it a lot, James, that it can be a kind of a bit of a learning experience, I would say, for young players.
Yeah, I mean, definitely coming into uni, the initial jump of like boys rugby to men's rugby, it's a big change. Like the hits are a lot bigger, the blokes are a lot bigger, the contacts are a lot heavier. Having to manage yourself after the game, so making sure you're fit for next week, a lot more important. But I guess at the end of the day, it's just making sure you're there mentally as well, because you can go into the game thinking you're all right, but you are coming up against bigger people, so you need to be prepared for that. And then definitely in my 2nd year, being able to put on a bit of size has helped in the contacts.
I think James has shown, like, first season he came in and, like you said, maybe not as mature physically, but still able to put it about. But then he's had a couple of injury, like, rehab periods, which he's dealt with really well. And now he's in a position where, obviously, like early on in the season, picked up sort of player of the match for us, and then National League player of the weekend. Like, he's had some stellar performances. So, like, a great example of somebody who's been able to, like, adapt to the rugby really well. And I think, yeah, his performances this season have been pretty outstanding. So he's one of the guys that's a leader in the group and showing some great signs.
Yes.
Yeah. Absolutely. I saw James nodding along there. Yeah, this is great to hear on a Wednesday morning. Great praise from the head coach.
Yeah.
Just on that, Gareth, I know we've spoken a couple of times for our sister website, Talking Rugby Union, about kind of the development and the learning experience it does give some of these young lads. And James is an example, Gareth, someone who obviously plays National 2 West on a Saturday, but has played a little bit for the Wednesday side right at the very top in Bucks Super Rugby. So how much can the Saturday learning experience help young players in your programme when they are potentially looking to progress in the game?
Yeah, it's huge. Like it is a different style of rugby. It's generally what James mentioned about like the size of players that you're playing against. So like maybe the speed is a little bit down, but the size that you have to deal with. So it teaches, especially from a set piece forwards point of view, it teaches you how to manage a set piece from a particularly scrum and maul standpoint. And I think that then sets guys up really well for the rest of their career, really. Like they get to play adult rugby, they understand the challenges of that. They're also able to play some university rugby where they're able to express themselves a little bit more in terms of the speed of the game. And like doing those at the same time mean that you have pretty broad base of your sort of rugby knowledge and rugby curriculum.
Having to play the two different leagues, it is kind of two different tactics. Like as Gareth said, it's a bit slower in the National League, but we've got to make sure our set piece it's a lot more steady and important, and we really put a focus on that when we're training for that. But then again, when we're all training together, there's a lot of change between the Bucks and the National League side. So you're kind of learning both sides where you can take a few skills from the National League and be putting them into Bucks and vice versa. I mean, in huddles, we're always talking about how it's one team, we're all together, like it's one team, multiple leagues, but we're all there to make each other better. So making sure everyone's there for training and helping out. And I know definitely in the Saturday side, we come together in the team. Also, the little individual sections of like improving your individual skills, definitely going with a few of the Chiefs boys or Quins boys or anyone. Everyone's got their own tips and tricks and how to advise people on what to do, and that will help a lot. Like I know I've definitely been given a few tips and tricks on clear outs, which has helped me greatly. So it's just, yeah, always talking. Everyone has the confidence to talk to each other because we're all trying to get better. So as long as we got that same goal, it's always going to work.
Having, I think, us in Loughborough, particularly as universities, having these playing opportunities for players coming in is the most important thing because they're able to, if they're not playing in their university side, they're able to actually play a really strong standard on the weekend and show themselves in front of myself, in front of other people, what they can do, what their talent is, and that allows them to progress. So yeah, it's a massive positive for us, and I think we've seen that this season again, particularly recently, and I know James will agree. We've had some young guys, 18, 19-year-olds come into the side, and again, I'm kind of thinking, well, is he going to be able to withstand that sort of level of rugby, that sort of change of physicality? But they've done fantastically well. You know, we've had some outstanding performances from the young guys in the team. And it's sort of testament to them and how they can progress over the next couple of years, which is really exciting.
Just finally, guys, looking back to National 2 West and the final four games of the season. Of course, Old Redcliffians to come this weekend, Gareth. And we mentioned before kind of the ability you guys have had to pick up points in recent weeks, and obviously that victory against Bourneville. But this one against Old Redcliffians feels like a really good opportunity for you guys to get the win under your belt and potentially all but seal your place in National 2 Rugby for next season.
Yeah, it's a really important game for us, and I think one that I'm really excited about. It feels like because we've had a couple of rearranged fixtures in around weather, we've been on a long run of games, and actually this is the last game before a break weekend. So it's a chance for the guys to leave it all out there, really push for that win that, like you said, will get us to a point where it kind of feels a little bit more like we're securing our position. I think obviously not mathematically, but definitely from a confidence point of view. And I think, you know, it also feels like we've been sort of on the road quite a lot this since Christmas, really. So actually to be at home, I'm sure there'll be a decent turnout from the guys that aren't playing. But also from, you know, the weather's improving and it's a good time to watch rugby. So I think Saturday's going to be a really good game to watch, and I know the lads are chomping at the bit to make sure they put out a great performance.
I think it's starting to, we need to put out a statement now that we need to show that we're not just a uni side, we're here to make a big impact, and we definitely have the ability to do that. So as Gareth said, it should be a good little opportunity back home, first time in a while, and yeah, I think everyone's raring to go, excited for it.
So a big thanks to both James and to Gareth for their time this week. Great to learn more about the programme down at Exeter University. And for any students watching this, heading to Exeter University to combine a high quality degree with high quality rugby in both books and, of course, National League rugby certainly seems like a good option to me. And the current crop of players at Exeter University who ply their trade in the National 2 West side will be hoping to confirm their place in National 2 for next season in the remaining 4 games of this campaign. And Exeter could confirm their safety this weekend if results go their way. And in terms of the teams they are trying to pull away from, round 23 sees bottom club Devonport Services travel to one of Exeter's foes, Loughborough Students, with the visitors knowing they could be relegated this weekend if results don't go their way. But Ben Russell's side did beat Loughborough 17-0 back in round 11, so they will keep fighting until the very end. As for 13th place Bourneville, they are back at Avery Fields to take on Luctonians. Bourneville with 1 win from the last 14 games, but victory this weekend could reignite their survival hopes. And what about 12th place Macclesfield? Well, we mentioned before, they are edging closer to safety, and they are on their travels for the penultimate time this season when they visit 3rd place Taunton Titans. In terms of the title race then, we mentioned that Cambourne go to Clifton in round 24, but this weekend won't be straightforward for either of the promotion candidates. Cambourne hosts Cinderford at the Recreation Ground, and the league leaders have won all 11 of their home matches this term. And whilst 4th place Cinderford are experiencing some patchy form at the minute, they did beat Cambourne back in November, so could they muster up something similar again in round 23? As for Clifton, they travel to 5th placed Hornets for a clash of the informed teams in National 2 West. Both clubs are on 5-match winning runs as things stand, with Hornets now 3 points off 3rd place. So could they deliver a sting to Clifton's promotion bid, or will the Lavender and Blacks' steely focus shine through once again? So a big weekend for both of the top 2 sides. And finally, 9th placed Hinckley, who have won 6 of their last 9 games. They visit 6th place Redruth, who sit just 5 points ahead of them in the standings.